So the next match was Billy Gunn against QT Marshall in this tale of betrayal and resentment where QT has just broken out. And by the way, where was Cody? Cody was, we didn't see a lot of the EVPs. Maybe that's why this show didn't completely suck.
Well, have you ever noticed Cody's booking seems to be, I come out for a promo, I get interrupted, I have a match, you don't see me for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It seems to be what it is because, again, Cody was the one that QT and his boys beat up, and now it's everyone but Cody until Cody makes his big dramatic return that are defending Cody from QT Marshall and his gang of men.
Well, QT and Anthony Ogogo, the boxer, did an emotionless, memorized promo to start this out. And, I can understand Ogogo. He's British and he's green. I wish QT would have done the second take on that one because it's just, there's no realism in their tones of any of their voices. Anyway, this one had a jump start, but Billy Gunn jump started. He just attacked QT and all of his stooges, Solo and the caveman, Camarado. So the Billy Gunn, who's in the best shape of his life, it looks like, as far as cosmetically, I can see he doesn't move as fast as he did 25 years ago, but he's fucking 57 and looks like that. Amazing. But he just beat the shit out of QT and any of QT's stooges. At one point, he shot QT off, and QT did the Ray Stevens upside down into the turnbuckle in the match right after Trent just did it. But they just do it. They just run and do it. They went through a nice little match, but there wasn't a lot of life or interest in this because of there's no interest in this issue. There was no oomph in this. It was, as I said, it's mostly Billy Gunn kicking QT's ass. So how good of a trainer did Cody pick to run his school if the 60-year-old guy can come in and kick the shit out of him endlessly? And then the kids and the Stooges got in a brawl at ringside. The Gunn kids and the fucking QT Stooges, they get in a big multi-man brawl, and then you know what they did, Brian? You remember what they did, what we call it?
Lazy booking?
No.
Oh.
They fought off.
They fought off.
They got in a fight in one place, and of course, every time you get in a fight, you try to keep moving to where the end of your fight takes place, hundreds of yards from the beginning of the fight, right? They got in a fight, and they fought off. That's the way they call it in the finish, and you guys fight off. So they just fought out of the fucking outdoor amphitheater and are never seen again until the match is over. And then suddenly they reappear instantly. So the match continued. QT got a little bit of offense. Billy Gunn made a big comeback. And then QT takes a bump out on the stage. Billy goes and gets him, half-ass chucks him back in the ring. In a working way, acts like he's rushing to step into the ring, but meanwhile he's waiting on the guy. And Ogogo comes out and gut shots him again behind the referee's back. 1, 2, 3. So, yes, and for everybody who said, well, that's a real punch in boxing. Yes, of course it is. But unless he's really going to punch him in the solar plexus or whatever and knock the fuck out of him, it looks like shit in a fucking worked environment if you're going to have a boxer throw a knockout punch, have him throw it to the face. But besides that, the referees are turning their backs on shit that are happening 10 feet away from them that are making noise that you could hear. It's just... And it's all in the same shot. Anyway, rotten finish again. Billy Gunn got fucked. 1, 2, 3. But there's an afterbirth. Because since there's the Rhodes family members involved, they got to do Dusty's angles over. Did you see QT Marshall go out underneath the ring, Brian? And in your altered state of reality, maybe you didn't believe your eyes what you were seeing. He pulled out a midget's wooden deck chair. It was like one of those wooden deck chairs. What do they call those? Adirondack chairs? Except it was only about 2 feet long. A human being could not have sat in this chair. A wooden midget's deck chair which was obviously gimmicked from the start because he was holding it like a Fabergé egg. And when he swung at fucking Billy Gunn, no, Dustin came out. And QT swings the chair and Dustin ducks and he misses it and QT bends over and then sets the chair down gently on the ground and then stands up and turns around and takes Dustin's comeback. And then Dustin gets the chair and broke it over Camarado's head, the caveman who wasn't supposed to sell it because that's the idea. You break the chair over the guy's head and he doesn't sell it. But after they've shown that it was gimmicked, and then when he swung it, and it was a comedy chair to begin with, it was like they got a chair from some fucking toy company that it puts it in doll sets, and it just flew into a million pieces, looked like it was made out of balsa wood. Was that the fakest looking, silliest looking, hit somebody over the head with a chair spot you've ever seen?
Well, it certainly was telegraphed. As soon as you see that wooden chair, not even talking about the size of it.
Yes.
But there are no venues with wooden chairs like that in 2021. When Dusty used it on Big Bubba, you know what? They're in the Carolinas. There's a chance there may be a chair.
No, there wasn't just a chance. Everybody at ringside was sitting in one. It was a chair from the back of the Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium. That's where they got it. In the fucking back. They've still got Crockett's old ring stored there 30 years later. But that's the thing. You had Bubba Rogers that was huge and already in a goddamn main spot and being pushed. And you have Dusty Rhodes, the biggest babyface in the company. And you have a chair that came from the fucking, I think it even said Memorial Auditorium on the underneath of the seat. But you have a chair that comes from the building. And then you break it, and it's a real chair to begin with instead of something you've built out of those model airplane wing things that, balsa wood or whatever. I defy anybody. Go back and look at this on video and watch Dusty Rhodes hit Bubba Rogers over the head with a chair. You tell me which one got over better. That's all I'm going to say. Let your own eyes be the judges. But anyway, last week, or 2 weeks ago, Cody did Bruno and Zbyszko, and that didn't work, and now they're doing Dusty and Bubba, and that didn't work either.
You know, if Adam Page teamed up with Anthony Ogogo, you know what the name of the tag team would be?
Page Ogogo?
Whiskey Ogogo.
Oh, I see what you did there.
This QT,
I'm just wondering when Anthony is going to go. What now?
This QT faction. Without even saying anything about the Caveman and Anthony Ogogo, and I don't even remember what the third guy's name is, to be honest with you.
Solo. He's Solo.
There's Solo and there's Go-Go and there's Caveman. I mean, it is like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Solo, Go-Go, and Camarado.
Well, there you go.
It's Hanna-Barbera.
Without Cody in the middle of this Nightmare Family versus Factory feud, does anyone care about this feud? All of a sudden, this feud that Cody was in the middle of, nothing against Dustin, and he took a lot of time to paint his face, it seemed like, this week for this segment.
Yes.
But Dustin's great in the ring. Dustin's not a pushed personality in AEW. Billy Gunn, he has a match every few months, and then we see him and his kids sitting in the audience singing songs and cheering people. The kids, they jumped the rail. They're now involved. Lee Johnson's back in the match next week. Without Cody there just isn't the star power for this feud. And that's not even getting into the actual booking of it.
And so I'm sure that some of them think that they're doing something for these guys. And I'm sure, of course, they've told these guys think Solo and Camarado and a Go-Go, we're on TV. Like, this is good. These guys are too green. They don't understand that they're just meaningless, interchangeable fodder. Nobody has put any thought into any of them individually. They just throw them out there. And it's giving people a bad first impression of these guys as green flunkies of some goof that runs a wrestling school that's mad at Cody's brother and hit him with a fucking fake chair. So instead of taking each one of those guys, making them an individual and focusing on their strengths and accentuating those and trying to eliminate or hide their weaknesses in limited exposure until they're ready to really go fully. Instead, they put them all in a fucking bunch and send them out there to do stupid shit with other people that ain't over. So now, even if they go to other companies, oh, that's the guy that was some fucking flunky in AEW. So and that's why I say it's almost like they sit down and figure out how can we get the least out of the most.
Welcome to the Hoots Podcast. This is a podcast about life, which just happens to be centered and focused around the world of professional wrestling. We tackle the topics of the week, both inside and outside of the squared circle, while also focusing on the issues that are plaguing the world today. Whether it's wrestling, sports, life, or anything in general, we've got you covered right here on the Hoots Podcast. And now, here's your host, Josh Lopez.
And if that doesn't work, then by God, me and my friend Mark, we're going to stop watching. That's right.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 255 of the Hoots Podcast. Hope you're having a wonderful week so far. It's yours truly, the nefarious brother Adam. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Lopez Media. As you guys see on the Facebook portion here, I have my social media links down there. You can also hit me up on Instagram at JoshLopez94, at Josh Lopez Music. We record the Hoots Podcast every single Thursday, and it's available to you free of charge anywhere you get your podcast from. This podcast is in the goal of reminding you that you can enjoy professional wrestling while acting like you're responsible for what goes behind the scenes of the business that you don't really know what you're talking about. So, if this is your first time, check out the podcast. I do appreciate it. We're not just a pro wrestling podcast, but we also talk about life, we talk about mental health, we talk about relationships, we talk about sports, and we like to jump that into our Good Brothers Q&A session. Really quick, I wanted to mention really quick for first-time listeners of the podcast, I thank you for giving us the opportunity. We've been around for 5 years, and I'm always open for you guys to go check out our previous editions and old interviews that we did in the past when I was doing radio stuff at Illinois Media School, and I'm just looking for any feedback, positively, constructively, negatively. I just want to get your feedback on the podcast. We've been doing this for 5 years, and I just want to take a gauge on what you guys like about the podcast or not. If this is your first time listening, I want you guys to feel like I'm sitting next to you, and we're talking about professional wrestling. I'm not an analyst. I'm not an expert. I do a lot of stuff in the wrestling media, but with me, my head is not that big to the point where I think I'm above anybody. You know, I'm sure me and you will disagree on a wrestling topic or just anything regarding professional wrestling, and that's perfectly fine. But one thing you know about this podcast is that I speak for myself, and that's ultimately what we all should do as wrestling content creators, speak for ourselves. So I thank you for the opportunity, and I hope you enjoy this experience. So with that being said, we do have a lot to talk about this week. We got to get into this week for Raw and SmackDown. We're about 3.5 weeks away from the WrestleMania Backlash pay-per-view. Also got to talk about what happened this week in AEW Dynamite. We're a week out from Blood and Guts. I got to get my thoughts on that and what the hell is wrong with AEW this week. And this week I'm really going to hit on a couple of things I've been seeing on Twitter that just I don't really understand the gist of it, and I'll explain to that later on in the WWE segment. But with that being said, let's not waste any time. Let's get to the Good Brothers Q&A session. We do this segment every single week. It's an opportunity where the Good Brothers and Good Sisters of the podcast reach out to me and ask me questions, and we spend about the first half part of the podcast answering questions, and it goes into many different directions and many different topics, which is a lot of fun. Where I have this window here where we can talk about anything, and it's a Q&A session. So we're gonna start it off as we usually do with Chris Zaletta at XTeamZaletta24X on Twitter. Chris is a weekly contributor to the podcast and a good friend. Let's check out his questions. He says, "What's up, Oos? Here's some questions for the Q&A this week. Do you think we see movement in the top 10 of the draft tonight? I am recording this on April 29, 2021. The 2021 NFL Draft starts tonight. Really excited to watch that. Do I think we'll see movement in the top 10 of the draft? I think so. I just don't know how many. I don't know how much movement. I think there will be movement, but I don't think it'll be excessive movement. There's a lot of talented people in this draft this year, and it's a lot of interesting scenarios for a lot of teams at the higher level of the draft. And I'm very curious to see where everybody goes. So it's going to be a very interesting night. But I don't think there's going to be a lot of movement, but we'll just have to see as the night goes. How disappointed are you that Andrade is going to waste his time facing Alberto Del Rio? I wouldn't say that I'm disappointed. I would say that I'm not surprised, though. I mean, both of them are very similar in their own ways. The way they wrestle, the way they carry themselves out of the ring. I don't know if that's a knock on them personally. If it is, they can take it that way. But trash is going to fight trash, right? I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't see an Andrade that I see that a lot of you guys did. Like, don't get me wrong, I did enjoy like transcribing a couple of matches that he had in NXT and stuff like that. The pairing of him and Selena Vega were good, but I just never looked at Andrade like this next level guy. I just thought he was just a guy filling Alberto Del Rio's role. And both of them had a similar trajectory, to be honest with you. This with the exception of the fact that Andrade never became a WWE champion, but he was an NXT champion. So, you know, I'm not disappointed, but I'm not surprised either. I mean, trash sometimes interacts with trash, and that's where we are right now. Do you think there could be a possible Sanity reunion in NXT coming together? He says, we saw a possibility of that this past Tuesday. I guess, but the gist of the segment is that Imperium is looking to expand its group. Obviously, Walter is not going to be in the U.S. all the time, so you need to expand the level of Imperium, the brand. I love Imperium. I love what it stands for. More likely than not, Killian Dane would join Imperium than a reunion of Sanity. Though, if this is something where Nikki Cross comes out and she's part of NXT, then I'd be fine with that. It's a funny question here. He says, I know you don't care for Milton Bradley, a.k.a. Nia Jax, but did you have any interest in her in a program with Ronda? No, man. I'm sorry to make this short and brief, brother. I just don't have any interest in anything Milton Bradley does. She could go the fuck home and stay the fuck home as far as I'm concerned. You know, I have nothing against her personally or anything like that. Just as a performer and how she carries herself in the ring and all this stuff. I can't find my remote quick enough, but she's on my TV screen. So, no, I don't have any interest with her and Ronda Rousey. No, thank you. Do you think Tony Storm and Pete Dunne's programs will pick back up? I think both should be kind of, I can't have written this wrong. He thinks both of them should be in title mixes. They're in a very interesting predicament. And the thing I really appreciate about NXT is the emphasis on the UK talents that are on the show that they're alumni from the NXT UK brand. But you have like Tony Storm and Pete Dunne where they talk a lot of smack. They run their mouths a lot, but either they're losing big matches or they're just not in any particular feuds. So That's the thing. Do you bring it back to the UK? I don't know. I guess it can be easy to say with any wrestling show or any promotion to be like, okay, ping pong put this person in this feud, ping pong put that woman in that feud. They're number one contenders for this title, they're number one contenders for that title, turn a babyface, turn heel. We can do this in games till the cows go home. But it's easier said than not, you know? Like, okay, NXT has a great roster. Sure, there's a lot of matches I like to see with Pete Dunne in. Okay, but what do you get to the point where you start putting people in matches just for match reasons than an actual story? Pete Dunne, like, I really like the stuff they did with Finn Balor, but they're just matches. I didn't feel a personal grudge between the two of them, you know? So, of course, obviously they should be entitled pictures, but I think we need to find more ways to pinpoint what Tony Storm and Pete Dunne's characters are. I just think it's different parameters than what they did in NXT UK. They have a totally different presentation than what we do in the United States. So that's a good question. I think they're trying to redefine what their characters are first before they get to said feuds. So I'll just say have some patience with both of them. What did you think of the Diamond Mine video? Was that a new faction, Tessa Blanchard, or another female? Well, I don't have the full list of the recent signings of the Performance Center. I will say that I would love to see Tessa Blanchard in some way in WWE. I think that'd be good. She's in interesting predicament right now. And it goes back, another one, like, she's with Daga, Del Rio, Andrade. Can you tell a difference between the three of them? I'm saying this as a Hispanic, so don't come with me with this racist stuff. I mean, I call it what I see. Like, you got three guys that, they do some impressive stuff in the ring, but are they anything to write home about after that? I don't know. So when it comes to Tessa, I'd love to see her, but she's getting like that persona non grata thing where she's made a lot of enemies, she's made a lot of mistakes behind the scenes, and what company is really going to trust her where she's not going to make it all about herself? So I think it would be cool if she was in NXT. Do I think she's part of a new faction? I'm not sure. I'm kind of curious. Like, I'm not gonna rush to judgment as far as that video that was aired on Tuesday. It's a crutch for wrestling fans these days to make automatic assumptions and conclusions to where things are going with feuds or new characters right off the bat. And that's just not what I do. That's not how I see professional wrestling. I look at it from a bigger picture standpoint, and like I usually say, let's let this play out first before we make any assumptions. How do you feel about this? Killer Cross versus Shinsuke Nakamura. I think that'd be a good match. Obviously, it goes back again to match versus story. Sure, we could have all these matches, but we also put it up on WWE 2K22, you know? I think it would be a good match, but I don't know what other purpose would be just for the match. Like, Nakamura's not cutting promos, and I guess you can do some weird things where Scarlett and Shinsuke are trading facial expressions, but I just don't know what the story is. Maybe, he's back from NXT, Cross. If the gist of this is to have Cross lay out former NXT champions, I think it'd be a cool idea. Like, he goes through Nakamura, maybe he fights Kevin Owens at a takeover. I don't know. I think that'd be a good idea, but would I like to see that as a one-on-one match? Sure. Is it a feud that I want to see? No, I haven't seen anything visually of why that would be a feud, but that would be a good match, though. What is on your wrestling bucket list? Well, number one is to work in the wrestling business. That's number one on my bucket list. Number two, for me, at least from a fan point of view, I've never been to a Royal Rumble, so I would like to see that. What else? there's a couple of venues, wrestling-wise, I haven't been able to attend yet. Like, a lot of them in Japan, like Korakuen Hall and the Tokyo Dome, Osaka-jo Hall. A lot of those, like, big New Japan venues I haven't had a chance to go check out yet. I haven't been to Daily Place yet. I don't know if I'll ever go to the AEW show at this point. But, I have certain things here and there that I like to say, oh, I went to this. Like, it's cool. Like, I've seen the WrestleMania now. I've seen the Survivor Series. I've seen Money in the Bank. I think for me, like, it'd be cool. I've never been to a SummerSlam before. Like, that'd be really cool to check that off as a bucket list thing. The last indoor WrestleMania I went to was WrestleMania 34, so it'll be cool next year to be in Dallas where we're not in the fucking heat and stuff and just be inside and enjoy the views and stuff like that. Chris, I have a lot of stuff for me, bucket list wise, that I like to see. Of course, obviously, everybody knows probably number one on my list is CM Punk coming back to the WWE. But outside that, just for personal things for me, it's like attending shows or checking out certain events that I haven't had a chance to watch yet. I've never been to a Ring of Honor show. I've never been to an AEW show. Definitely never been to a New Japan show either. So I just want to check those off the list. And I've never been to an MLW show. I really want to go check out one in the future. So those are really good questions, bro. I appreciate that. He leaves the questions open for you. Next one, we're going to go to our good brother, Second City Sam, the hot take master himself. You can follow him on Twitter at Second City Sam. He says, what do you think happens with, what do you think what happens when Jimmy Uso comes back? Well, I think that, obviously, there's ways to get the Usos back into the top picture, right? Jimmy's coming back from this ACL surgery sooner or later, so him with Jay and Roman and Paul Heyman, you got the Usos now part of the squad, and it'd be obvious, safe to say that they'll go after the tag team titles, but also at the same time, I would say that maybe they fight the Mysterios and that's how they get the titles, adding them back to the scene like that. But I'm sure Jimmy will come back sooner or later. It's for certain that the Usos become the SmackDown Tag Team Champions whenever Jimmy Uso comes back. So be on the lookout for that. And plus, for me, honestly, to be honest with you guys, I'm kind of over the whole main event Jey Uso thing. Like, I appreciate that they're giving the guy the opportunity, and he's a good wrestler, but him main eventing SmackDown every 3 to 4 weeks is getting a little tiresome, in my opinion. So, I like Jey Uso. I have nothing against him, but he doesn't need to be main eventing the show every week just because he's Roman Reigns' lapdog, That's just my opinion. Okay, next question. Let's see what we've got here. Are you excited about the new season of The Dark Side of the Ring and what you most like to see featured on the show? Well, yeah, I am pretty excited to check out Dark Side of the Ring. This is season 3, I think. I like the series. I love the episode about Owen Hart. Love the episode about Eddie and Chris Benoit. That was a really rough one to sit through. Obviously the infamous one with the Montreal Screwjob, where we saw a visual breakdown of what actually happened with Vince McMahon and Bret Hart after that moment, which was really interesting. I love the episode with Gino Hernandez was good. I'm very excited for it. The New Jack episode was batshit crazy. It's a great show. Shout out to the guys at Dark Side of the Ring that put these shows together. They do an amazing job. It's really interesting. Look at the business from the good stories and the bad too. And they had one about Brawl for All, I think, which was a funny episode. And then I know they're doing one on Brian Pillman. which is going to be very interesting because I always liked Brian Keller from the stuff I watched back over the years. But, you know, I was like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years old when Brian passed away, you know, which kind of sucks. Brian was a great wrestler. It's cool to cover his son work now. He does stuff on MLW and AEW, but love to get to know more about his story and what really happened towards the end of his life. So that's going to be an interesting episode to sit through. And I know they have different topics like the plane ride from hell, a whole bunch of shit. So there's a lot I'm looking forward to for Dark Side of the Ring. If you guys haven't seen it, it's on Vice. It's a really good show, and I think you guys should check it out. All right, next question. Who should be John Cena's retirement match? Oh, man, that's a good question. You know what? For me, it'd be Drew McIntyre. What other way to solidify that it's his time to fulfill his actual prophecy to be the one to lay out John Cena? I think it'd be an awesome match. You could be either a heel or babyface. I really don't care what side of the dynamic it is, but I don't know how many matches John Cena's gonna have left. Like, he's killing it, man. I see him on a gazillion commercials. He's in the Fast and the Furious movie franchise now. John's killing it, man, and I'm happy for him. He's doing a lot of good stuff in Hollywood right now. So for me, I think that John Cena against Drew McIntyre would be a really good match and good passing of the torch. I mean, we saw John Cena and Roman Reigns. You can do that too. No notch in the Tribal Chief's chest that, like, he's the one. Like, Brock Lesnar broke The Undertaker's streak, but Roman Reigns broke The Undertaker. Think about that. Brock Lesnar broke the streak, but Roman Reigns broke The Undertaker. Just throwing an idea there. It could be Drew McIntyre or Roman Reigns. That would be my two options. All right. Next question. Who will Ryan Pace screw up and take in the draft tonight? I love this question. Yeah, man. If you listen to Chicago sports radio or read stuff on Twitter, it's like hell day in Chicago sports. Nobody has any lick of confidence in the Bears, and nor should they. I'll try to take the glass half full approach to this, brother. For me, I'm not really into with college football, so I'm the worst guy to ask about this. But for me, from what I see from like NFL Network shows and a lot of people that break down the draft and stuff like that, I would love to see the Bears go after Greg Newsome, especially after the fact that Kyle Fuller left the team. It'd be cool to have Greg be the guy to replace him. Yeah, Greg Newsome and Jalen Johnson, I think that's a good combo quarterback squad. And, you know, I just don't know what the Bears would do after that. Like, you need to get either a offensive tackle or a quarterback. Like, yeah, it'd be nice to find your franchise QB, but, like, you need to fix up that other side of the corner slot positions and stuff like that. I don't think the Bears' savior at quarterback is in this draft anyway. So I'm very curious to see what happens tonight. It'll be contentious. I'm sure about that. I'm sure a lot of people will be petty and have their snarky comments whenever the Bears make their picks. So we'll have to see what happens tonight. But for me, I would go with Greg Newsome. That's just my opinion. All right, next question. What are 3 things you actually like about Cody Rhodes? I like Cody Rhodes as a person. I don't like his character that he has on AEW. I don't like his dumb approach about heels and baby faces. I'm not into the whole Jeff Jarrett shtick that he has in AEW. I've made that perfectly clear before on this show. But I like Cody Rhodes as a person. There's matches of his that I like over the years. I think he's a good wrestler. And 3, his emphasis on helping the future's talent, the fact that he has his Nightmare Factory School, I think is a good thing. So, yeah, those are the 3 things I like about Cody. All right, last question from Sam. He says, what is your opinion about a Cubs fan going to a White Sox game, not against the Cubs, and wearing Cubs gear, vice versa? That's a good question. You know, I am a White Sox fan. I have brought White Sox gear to Wrigley Field before. It is a nice ballpark inside, but outside of it, it's a complete and utter dump. I'm sorry, I just gotta call a spade a spade. But for me, I'm not a gatekeeping fan. I really don't care about that type of stuff, to be honest with you, Sam. Like, you guys can wear what you want. Like, I'm not gonna begrudge you for, let's say it's the White Sox against the Red Sox and you're coming in with your Cubs gear. You're a baseball fan. You want to be there. You're here to have a good time. Now, if you're going to be going to Sox games in Cubs uniform just to troll, then you're a piece of shit. But if you're just going to just have a good time with your friends and it's like a random White Sox and, Angels game, like that's not an issue to me. I don't have an issue with that. Nor would I have an issue with a White Sox fan going to Wrigley Field to see the Cubs against the Reds or somebody like that. So, the whole gatekeeping stuff with fans are really stupid at times. I just hate the stupid trolls that try to act like amateur stand-up comedians. I'm like, you're not fucking funny, and sit the fuck down. Like, seriously. Good questions, though, Sam. I like those. All right, we're going to head into our last batch of questions this week for the podcast. We're going to head off to Nate the Great. I put this out on Twitter earlier, but the funny thing about the Q&A session that we've been getting over the last couple weeks is that we go in order. It's CSN. Now, if you guys live in like Boston or Chicago or Philadelphia, you guys know about CNN. It's a regional sports network off the NBC Sports Network. We had here Chicago, CSN Chicago, Chicago Sportsnet. You have CSN in Boston, CSN in Philadelphia, other places. So we have our CSN here in the Hoots podcast. So, okay, here's the questions for Nate. What's going on with Pete Dunne? Hasn't won a single championship in years and has no direction right now. I think right now, like I mentioned with Chris' question, Nate, is that he's trying to, I guess XC's trying to redefine what his character is. He's going with this moniker about being the best technical wrestler and trying to be a tough guy. And like, I love wrestlers like Pete Dunne. I can cover a Pete Dunne match to the cows go home. But even then, with professional wrestling, you need to have a reason to care about somebody. Like, sure, after a while, if you watch 30 squash matches with Walter, you're going to want to see somebody legitimate fight him after a while, you know? Like, I can see a gazillion matches with Pete Dunne, but if none of them have any substance to it, then what's the point of him being out there? Like, I did not like the feud with him and Finn Balor. I didn't think it did Pete Dunne any favors. The matches were fine, but I just didn't think it was a good pairing. And it's weird with Finn Balor, too, because he's like, okay, he's presented as the face of NXT, but he has this great shades of gray, I guess, gimmick that he's doing right now with the Prince stuff. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like, yeah, I get it. Pete doesn't have a direction right now, but I think it's more important to redefine his character so that when he gets into an actual feud with somebody, you care about it more than just, okay, this is going to be a great wrestling match. You know what I mean? Do you think anything big will go down on SmackDown, or will we get a clean winner between Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan? This is going to be clean as the cows go home. And I couldn't be happier. I'm going to be talking about this later on in the WWE segment, but I think this match will end in a clean way. Next question. Do you enjoy romance angles in wrestling? I like it when they're done right with the right people in it. I'm not opposed to it. You know, God forbid you try to add something different to a professional wrestling show. Just gotta be wrestling all the time. And look, I'm the guy that breaks down wrestling matches for a living. I am a guy that prefers in reaction over soap opera, entertainment, and stuff like that. But even then, like I don't know why wrestling fans can't separate what one company produces and then what another company produces. Like, some people go on these soapboxes and get so personally offended and triggered over the fact that WWE wants to do more entertainment stuff and appeal to different audiences than just Joe Schmo wrestling fan that wants to watch 30-minute or 45-minute bar burners. That's their prerogative. I don't know why that bothers you. Like, we all have our different preferences with professional wrestling. That's perfectly fine. My thing is, not every wrestling show has to be booked or presented the same way. That defeats the fucking purpose. Why am I going to listen to R&B if it's just R&B? Hold up. No, let me rephrase that. Like, my musical taste, for example, it's all over the place. One minute I could be listening to R&B, the next I could be listening to country music. And for me, let's take a sip of water. I just don't get the whole soapboxes about, wrestling needs to be presented this way, it can't be presented that way. Who cares? Like, it's so weird how wrestling fans look at things. Like, God forbid you have any comedy bits in wrestling. Now, I'm not saying that there are good or bad comedy bits in WWE. We all see the good ones and we all see the bad ones. But, golly, man. Anytime WWE tries to do something out of the box, oh my God, they should be crucified. It's a sin! It's a sin! We gotta have a forced Dave LaGreca rant anytime something out of the box happens on Raw. Like, cool for you, bro. Like, I just don't get it. It's a sin! It's a sin! So, with that being said, I wouldn't have an issue with romance angles in wrestling. It just has to be with the right people. Hell, I even like the stuff with Mandy Rose and Otis. Judge me for it. Alright, take away your opinion on Kenny Omega. How do you feel about the belt collector gimmick? I'm indifferent to it. Austin Aries had the belt collector gimmick before an Impact, and that didn't work out well. So, especially when you have before that, I can give two shits about and Kenny Olivier. I think you can really recognize where my head is with that. Who should be Cross's next challenger? Could Santos Escobar challenge him down the road? I think Santos Escobar could challenge him down the road for retribution for what he did to his squad, but I wouldn't rush into that particular match per se, Nate. I think for me, you look at the roster for NXT, like, one of these days I'd love to see him and Bronson Reed. I think that'd be an awesome match. Looking right now, it looks like that Killer Cross will fight Kyle O'Reilly, and I'm sure that'll be a 5-match. I'm not really sure. I mean, do you put him against Adam Cole out of the gate? Do you have him fight Dexter Lumis? Do you have him fight Ciampa? I have no idea. The heavyweight title picture in NXT, I wouldn't say it's bad or anything like that. It's just, I just don't know who are the clear-cut guys outside of Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly as far as guys going after the title. I mean, we just saw Killer Cross and Finn Balor. We saw that already. We'll have to see. Do you see Riddle and Randy Orton going after the tag titles? Possibly. I don't think they need tag titles, but if they're going to go all out with it, I guess they should give it a try. Like I liked what they did on Raw this week, so I wouldn't have a personal issue with that. So that wouldn't bother me. Speaking of bother, here's the last question for Nate. What is the pet peeve you have with wrestling? My pet peeve with wrestling has nothing to do with the action in the ring. It has to do with the fans of the business. I don't look at the business anymore as a fan because the fans of wrestling took that enjoyment and that aspect of me out of me. Professional wrestling to me is not work. This is something I do for a living. This is something that I cover. This is something that I don't live or die on from a fan point of view anymore. My incentive on the shows are not based on the entertainment quality of the shows. My incentive is to learn and cover and break down these matches to the top tier level that I'm supposed to, and paying homage to the people in the ring, the people behind the scenes that set up these matches, and just have a whole different mindset on the business now. I don't look at it as a fan anymore. Like the fan Joshie comes out when I attend shows, but when I'm at home and I'm covering the shows that I'm at work doing what I'm supposed to do, I don't look at it as a fan anymore. Because what is a modern wrestling fan in 2021? A selfish, entitled, morose fan who goes into three things in how they view or critique the shows. One is the truth. Second is a cop-out excuse. And three is an opinion where the person tries to take that opinion and spin it into a fact. And that's something I want to talk about here today, because this also applies to real life as well. The arguments, the debates, the stuff I see on Twitter is so mind-numbing that it starts making you question your own IQ at times. And for me, the biggest hindrance to the professional wrestling business is its fans. Honestly, I don't think people really actually realize the damage that a lot of people cause to the wrestling business, especially like assholes like Dave Seltzer and Brianna Alvarez's of the world. Like, those two have brainwashed a large part of the vocal minority of this fan base and thrust in this ideologies and mindsets of how wrestling's supposed to be booked, how wrestling's supposed to go like this, and this is going like that. Oh, it's supposed to be booked like this. It's supposed to be booked like that. Oh, this person's supposed to go over like this. This person's supposed to go over like that. Like, I can't begin to tell you the utter sheer disdain I have for wrestling Twitter. I hate it. I hate it with every core of my body. I hate what it represents. I hate what it's done to me as a wrestling fan. And I hate what it's done for the business because, honestly, we're at the point right now where it doesn't matter what any wrestling promotion does, somebody's going to be at a soapbox about it. For me, I don't take this shit personally. Even when I do the AEW segment that we do every week, there's a lot of it rooted in comedy, but I'm not personally frustrated or burnt out when an AEW show's going on, like a lot of you are when you guys watch Monday Night Raw. Like, a lot of you take your personal emotions and thrust that onto a show. You take your anger that you're dealing with at home and you take it out on something that's supposed to be an escape for you. You take your issues at home and take it out on something that, like, again, it's like an escape. It's something positive that's there for you, and you take it for granted. And for me, I'm not a fan of wrestling anymore. Not because of the business or the product is not up to my standards. Fuck that. I'm not a fan of wrestling anymore because what's the point of being a fan in professional wrestling? People are going to try to get into dick measuring contests with you over your wrestling knowledge or your quote-unquote booking knowledge that Nobody has any experience behind the scenes. Neither have I, so I'm not going to come here and insult your intelligence saying, oh, this is how it's supposed to be booked this way. This is supposed to be booked that way. Every time you guys heard me go on a rant or whatever about AEW, it's because of the stuff that goes on the show. I'm not talking about who's going over or who isn't going to go over. I don't care about that stuff. I never have. I never will. And I've been consistent with that with this show for fucking 8 years. Since the beginning, since I started doing this stuff, I've never cared about the stuff that you guys go on soliloquies about on Twitter. Because at the end of the day, you guys get into these long, elongated debates and arguments over stuff that's so minuscule to the bigger picture of professional wrestling. You take one angle on Raw and make that your entire opinion on the entire show. You take a subtle hit, by the way, a subtle jab to you Nimrods on wrestling Twitter by the tomatoes that happened on Raw Monday, right? You took that and then, okay, this is why Raw sucks. People are throwing tomatoes at each other. Not actually paying attention to the context of why they were throwing tomatoes at them at the first place. First of all, the show's rated TV PG. Actually have some self-awareness and actually realize the show you're watching is not only for you. You have your precious AEW TV 14, you give them all the passes in the world because, oh, they're allowed to swear, they're allowed to do this, they're allowed to bleed, so that's going to be my favorite show. Cool, that's your prerogative. I think their wrestling is generic and substandard to the stuff that I see throughout the rest of the country every week. AEW is not for me, and that's fine. Raw and SmackDown don't have to be for you. But when a show's when the show's rated PG, don't be surprised or taken aback by the fact that they're doing some stuff that appeals to kids. It's a TV PG show for a reason. It's not an excuse, it's a fact. It's been a PG show for over 10 years. So, again, what's the incentive of being a professional wrestling fan anymore? Oh, somebody's going to be butthurt because, oh, Joshie didn't write Dynamite this week. Go fuck yourself. Like, honestly, you guys really think I care or I'm personally offended by what you think about the shows? No. If anything, I laugh inside. The funny thing about it is when I go to work on Monday, like I'm not covering Raw live anymore because I'm at the Tangent shop and I don't get to do Raw until I get home, right? And there's times where I'm in the break of transitioning one load of tattoo to another, right? Put them in the ultrasound machine, and I go onto Twitter and see what's going on, and putting out the outline of the transcript. And just see what people are saying on Twitter, and I read the stuff, and I'm like, wow, man. It's so bad to some of you that you guys are so depressed about it, yet you guys still watch it every single week. And a lot of it, I think it's disingenuous hate. I think a lot of people hate watch WWE. I think a lot of people hate watch a lot of wrestling shows, not just WWE. And I can't take it seriously. I can't take narratives on Twitter seriously because there's no substance to it. It's a bunch of people that want to cling out to one wrestling promotion and try to thrust that upon every other wrestling show that's out there because, oh, this is the show, this is how it's supposed to be put this way, and everybody else is doing it wrong. That's not fandom. That's just fucking ridiculous. Like, get over yourself. I critique AEW for what they do on their shows. I don't care about their booking. I don't. I could give two shits about it. When you say your show's all elite wrestling, yet NWA puts on better wrestling matches than you. MLW puts on better wrestling matches than you. New Japan puts on better wrestling matches than you. I'm sorry, you're going to be called out on it. And my pet peeve with professional wrestling, yeah, of course, we could talk about the companies that make decisions that make the talent look bad and all this other stuff. But honestly, the biggest detriment to the pro wrestling industry is its fans. Look at the people that have been driven off wrestling podcasting because of wrestling Twitter and social media in general. Think about that. So, sorry for my rant there to close out this Q&A session this week, but I really needed to get that off my chest. So, with that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for this Q&A session. Remember, folks, to stick around. When we come back, we'll get more into this in This Week in WWE. And more, getting ready for what the hell is wrong with AEW right here on the Hoots Podcast. Thank you, everybody.
All right, Roman. I'm out here. We're all waiting to hear your answer. So you can either come out here and give us your answer, or we can also just, come back there and get an answer.
You gonna challenge me? Who are you? What you think you've done to be in the ring with me? You don't deserve it. You hadn't earned it. I'm the tribal chief around here, the head of the table. My answer's no. It'll always be no. Because you will never be on my level. The Universal Champ issues the challenges around here. And the challenge goes to you. I don't like you. I've never liked you. I will never like you. But I'm going to give you one more opportunity. You get one more shot at this. Take a good look. Because that's as close as you will ever get. Next week on SmackDown, you get one more title opportunity.
What are you thinking? You have to take it. You have to take it. You have to. You can do this.
But, sure, you need to know this. When you lose, I don't ever want to see you again. I want you to disappear. I want you to vanish. I don't ever want to see your face on my show again. I don't ever want to see you floating around SmackDown ever again. Do you understand me?
Welcome back, everybody, to the Hoots Podcast. We're ready to talk about what happened this week in WWE. We're going to start off with what happened last week on Friday Night SmackDown. It's crazy. It's almost Friday already. Let me scroll up here on the list here. Start out the show with Cesaro and Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan trying to pump up Cesaro and trying to go up Roman Reigns and giving them the title shot. Daniel Bryan doing his carry routine once again. You heard the clip right there. We have Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan as the main event of SmackDown this week for the Universal Championship. If Bryan loses, he is banished from SmackDown. So definitely looking forward to that match and that moment going down. I want to read a couple stuff here as far as promos are concerned from Seth Rollins. He immediately cut out Cesaro during his promo, which I thought was interesting. He says, where's my thanks? Where's my adulation? Because I haven't heard anything. What have I heard from you, however, is that you plan to be moving on from me. Now you've got your eyes set on the Universal Championship? Are you kidding me? I said it last week. I'll say it again. This isn't over because something is over until I say that it's over. Let me tell you something about WrestleMania. If Mother Nature and God himself hadn't converged to create a rain delay that threw me way off my game, you wouldn't have stood a chance. Because all things being fair, all things being equal, on my worst day and on your best, you could beat me again. So, Ronald's really laying in the work on there on Cesaro. This one went on pretty long. We had Jey Uso talking smack. We had Daniel Bryan doing his thing. And then Roman Reigns came out. He said, DB, you should have been talking about the beating I gave you at WrestleMania. And the sad thing is, I told you what was going to happen. I told the whole world. What did I say? Smash them, stack them, pin them. 1, 2, 3. Look, I say it. They printed, right? And look at the picture. He's pointing out the new t-shirt design that he has. It's pretty cool. And he says, you're the guy at the bottom. He's the bottom. That means you're a loser. Cesaro, the fact that you're letting this loser talk to you, that means you're a loser. But you guys are not losers to everybody. To everybody else, you're legit. But to me, to the tribal chief, you're losers. You're top tier losers. You're main event losers. You, Brian, you're a WrestleMania main event loser. But Cesaro, you're like a casino loser. You're a loser with bad luck. Brian, we don't feel bad for you, man. You're just a stupid loser. Because you're out here running your mouth. You're out here talking smack when you're surrounded by people who want to whoop your ass. Good luck with that. I really enjoyed that segment. And also, the match with Cesaro and Daniel Bryan against Cesaro and Daniel Bryan against Seth Rollins and Jey Uso. That was a really good match to start off the show. I thought SmackDown was pretty solid this week, way better than last week's. I thought this week was more fluid and stuff with storyline progression. Love the stuff with Kevin Owens and Apollo Crews. That Intercontinental Championship match, Sami Zayn also played dividends there, so it looks like those two are in another collision course. Big E still trying to get his hands on the Intercontinental Championship. We had Bayley and Bianca confirmed for WrestleMania Backlash. I think that's going to be a good match. That'll be your SmackDown Women's Title match on the program. So, good choice there. No need to do Sasha and Bianca right out of the gates. We saw a vignette of Aleister Black. He's coming back soon. I thought that was pretty cool to see him on the show this week. So, curious to see where he goes from here. And then, obviously, I played the clip at the end of Roman Reigns talking about, putting Daniel Bryan away for good. So I thought SmackDown was pretty good this past week. Tomorrow, obviously, we got Big E and Apollo Crews for the IC title. Then, of course, Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. So it should be another action-packed edition of Friday Night SmackDown. By the way, shout out to Pat McAfee. I think he's been doing a good job with him and Cole. He's doing good stuff on commentary. I like the group of him and Michael Cole together. So just wanted to mention that really quick. Let's go to Raw this week. Another episode where, if you go off of social media, you think this is the worst show ever. More times than not, Twitter is misleading. I'll just say that. Did I think this show was great? No. Did I think this show sucked? No. Did I think this show was horrible? No. I thought Raw was okay. We started off with a rematch from last week with Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman against Mason T-Bar. Mason T-Bar won via countout. This led to a main event match with Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman, which I'll get into later on. I talked about it already earlier about the whole Tomato Gate stuff. We don't need to get into that. I saw somebody on Twitter was like, oh, the second hour of Raw had so many commercial breaks and talk segments and only one match. Well, the first hour of the show had two matches and took over 40 minutes of the first hour of the show. So, okay. People find the littlest things to rag on, yet they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. We had Charlotte Flair come back with a different wrinkle. Sonya Deville has been really questioning the decisions of Adam Pearce recently, and I'm kind of curious to see where this is going. She looks like she's like taking the ball out of Adam Pearce's hand. I think it's an interesting dynamic. I'm kind of curious to see where this goes. Basically, this was an apology segment for Charlotte attacking the referees the week prior. I gotta say, I think Charlotte's doing the best work of her career right now, to be honest with you. She is the opportunity, but I would have a different name for her. I really think that Charlotte should take a page out of Triple H and call herself the measuring stick, because she is the measuring stick in the WWE. There's a couple matches throughout the show that I could have did without. I liked Bobby Lashley's promo with MVP. I thought that was fine. Randy Orton and Matt Riddle against Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. That was a good match. The women's 6-man tag team match was what it was. I'm not a fan of Nia Jax, so I didn't get the point of that match. And then I thought Charlotte and Mandy was okay given the time that they were given. I don't know what's going on with Alexa Bliss, so we have to see where that goes. And then my favorite part of Raw this week was the main event. I thought Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman had a really good match. Now we're going to have a triple threat match for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania Backlash. It'll be Bobby Lashley against Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman. So overall, I thought Raw was okay. Not a great show, not a horrible show either. So I'm going to give the edge to SmackDown this week for overall shows. Really quick, some side notes from NXT and NXT UK. Since I'm recording this on a Thursday, don't forget to check out Miko Satomura against Ethan Valkyrie. That could be probably the best women's match of the year so far for WWE. Be on the lookout for that. And then NXT NXT on Tuesday. I just want to give a shout out to the main event. MSK Kushida against the God del Fantasma. I thought that was a great match. The Adam Cole interview with Arash Markazi was pretty good too as well. I thought NXT was solid as well. So I just wanted to mention those really quick before we wrap up the segment. So with that being said, it's time to give the people what they want. The main event segment of the Hoots podcast, also known as What the Hell is Wrong with AEW? We're going to start off with Brother Carter in a 3, 2, 1.
It's time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW? What the hell is wrong with AEW? We started with a brawl. That's what's wrong with AEW, because why not? That's all we know how to do in this company. We've got Brian Cage and Adam Page going to have a match, but all of a sudden we have to start with a brawl between Team Taz and the Dark Order. Because why not? It's all this godforsaken company knows how to do. Speaking of things that this company knows how to do, we get another horrible Elite promo. A promo from the Elite. Kenny Omega is probably the most unintimidating, boring, and unrealistic champion in all of professional wrestling. Just compare him to every other major champion right now. How does he stack up? How does he stack up to Reigns, Lashley, Walter, Karrion Kross? You know, I'm thinking of before WWE, but you know, I'm sure you could go to Ring of Honor, and the person's escaping me. But Kenny Omega is how is he a believable champion? He's not. He's boring. He's a waste of time. And AEW should, and both now Impact too, should be embarrassed that this man is their world champion. Why should I care about the Young Bucks? They're boring and overrated. They can't be faces or they can't be heels. I've said this many times about the Bucks. They're good athletes. They're great athletes, but they're horrible at storytelling. They're horrible at the other most important part of professional wrestling. They don't know how to tell a story. They don't know how to act. Like, they're just, I don't get it with the Bucks anymore. I don't know why I should care about the Young Bucks anymore. It's ridiculous. I think Jade Cargill could be fantastic, but we haven't seen anything from her in the ring for a few weeks. We need more from her to prove her dominance. She's just getting all these vignettes and people, quote unquote, paying for her services, but we don't see anything from Big Money Matt or Vicky Guerrero or anything like that. Speaking of which, Big Money Matt wasn't even, well, I know he wasn't on TV. Never mind. Forget about that. But no, I just don't know what, like, if Jade Cargill is this dominant figure, why haven't we seen her in the ring for a while? It doesn't make any sense. Then we get to Orange Cassidy, the dastardly face who uses a microphone to get the win over Penta El Zero Miedo. All right, I have to admit it, I am over Orange Cassidy. His gimmick was funny for a while, but now it's just stale and uninteresting, and it doesn't work for him anymore. There's no other dimension to his character. I thought it was funny for a while. I'm a little late to the bandwagon, and Josh gives me a hard time about this, but I am over Orange Cassidy. I don't understand why he's the number 2 rated competitor in AEW. You're telling me he's better than Ricky Starks, Brian Cage, MJF? Like, come on, give me a break. So then we have this segment with Nakazawa and Omega. And, Omega offers up Nakazawa as a sacrifice, so we'll get to see them next week in a tag match, so that should be fine. But why wouldn't Moxley and Kingston ask for an AEW title match? Like, they've got Kenny Omega right where they want him. All he can say, hey, is we want an AEW title match. And Callis would have given it to him. But no, we have to ask for a tag match with Nakazawa and Omega versus Moxley and Kingston. Like, that makes absolutely no sense at all. It's like the dumbest payoff of all time. All right, so it looks like all Anthony Ogogo has to do to win the AEW World title is punch Kenny Omega in the stomach, because apparently that knocks everybody out. Though, to be fair, I'd actually like to see that, to see Kenny Omega get knocked out in any way, shape, or form. Also, who's with who in the Nightmare Family and the Gun Club and wherever? I can't follow this storyline. I can't tell who's with. This is the problem with AEW. Again, there's too many factions. Like, I don't know who's with who. I'm not invested enough in the product to really care who's with who. So it just makes no sense to me. Like, there's too many factions now. All of a sudden, the Gun Club is back. I'm supposed to care about them, but they're with the Nightmare Family, but they're the Gun Club. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. You know who else I don't care about? Miro. He sucks, and he's awful. And now, for some reason, he's attacking Kip Sabian for no reason. Now, I know that, you didn't see me in a few weeks, but now he's unleashing his rage on him. We haven't seen Miro in the ring for a while, so I don't know why I should care about him. He's bad at promos. His storyline just bounces from gimmick to gimmick. I don't care about Miro. He sucks. I know why WWE got rid of him. And then in the main event, we have a good match with Darby Allin and 10. Again, apparently the TNT title, which is supposedly this prestigious title, will be defended against anybody. There's no build to a feud with the TNT title, and if that's a TV title, fine. Just call it that. Like, don't make it this prestigious title if you're just going to defend it against random people every week. But Sting can't do his job, and now for some reason Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky are after them. I don't get it. Darby Allin does not need Sting. He's doing fine on his own. In fact, Sting is holding him down. Like, Darby Allin, you can build a company around him, but Sting is just holding him down. He's trying to be a heel, but he's a face, and going after all these faces for some reason. But then we have this thing with Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, and then Lance Archer is involved. This booking doesn't make any sense at all. Sting doesn't make any sense at all. Darby Allin needs to get rid of him. Seriously, what the hell is wrong with AEW? This has been What the Hell is Wrong with AEW.
Muchas gracias, Brother Carter, for the submission this week. As always, man, I appreciate you. All right, folks. Well, I think it'd be an understatement for me, at least, to say that this week's edition of AEW Dynamite absolutely sucked ass. I guess we can start off from the beginning, but overall, I did not like this show at all. It did not get me excited for Blood and Guts, which is supposed to be the exception of this episode, with it being the tape show too. I guess we should start off with the Inner Circle and Parley stuff. Don't get me wrong, I like the portion of MJF and Chris Jericho. I thought they brought that home. That segment good. I put it on Twitter, like, MJF is like the savior of segments. But for me, like, I can't take Sammy Guevara seriously, especially after the stuff with him and Sasha Banks. Like, I don't really care what he does or what he says. Thank God Jake Hager did not say a word. I think the wrestling gods looked down on us. The Shawn Spears promo was ridiculous. FTR and Santana Ortiz are talking about literally killing each other, even though they never had one match with each other beforehand, which is... Don't you feel like all this is so, like, rushed into... Why do we need to have blood and guts on TV? You got a big pay-per-view right down the corner from this shit. Literally, you got Double or Nothing right around the corner. Why are we dropping this for a rating when there's no competition? NXT is not on Wednesday nights. This is so stupid. You're dropping your whole load for this match that you've been waiting for months. You could have built this out. You could have had different side feuds. We're going to just drop everything off the gate to have a blood and guts match right off the bat? Okay. That's kind of random. That's like somebody like, oh, we're going to have a Hell in a Cell match just for the hell of it. But we don't mention it in AEW because there's double standards. So, again, before people get on my ass, like, I liked the MJF and Chris Jericho portion of the segment, but this was just there. It did not sell me. I'm not more excited to watch this match for what it is than I was last week, and that's not a good thing. And also at the same time, like this, I mentioned this with Andrew Magdala at S&E last week. The fact that Chris Jericho always needs to have these parlays and ultimatums and Todd Halls and war councils, why is that a crutch for him before his big matches? I just don't understand it. Not good. Not good. Let's talk about the matches on the show. Okay? We started off the show with Brian Cage and Heyman Page, which was probably one of the few things I didn't like on this program. Brian Cage got a surprising victory over Heyman Page. I thought that was fine. It's a good business. Cage attacked Heyman Page on the stage and was made to be looked out like a monster towards the end of it as well. So, good stuff there. The randomness of the Jon Moxley, Eddie Kingston, Olivier stuff with Michael Nakazawa, you could tell a show was taped with the way that segment was produced. It just came out of the fucking blue. Like, again, Kenny Olivier with a voiceover sound bit from Excrement. And Kenny Omega, he's a new Impact World Champion. No mention of it on the show. The show is taped. And, Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley beat up Michael Nakazawa to lure Olivier into a tag team match. God. You want to know why I'm sighing right now? Because unless you watch AEW Dark and Elevation like I do, the stuff with him and Nakazawa is so fucking stupid and corny and so outlaw and macho that you really start questioning your IQ. These two freaking dweebs are playing off as if they're getting instructions from the gorilla position. Michael Nakazawa, 1 second he's dousing people with baby oil, the next he's acting like a high-tech assistant. Like, this is so stupid and corny and outlaw. It's dumb. Who the fuck is writing this shit? Oh, I know. Olivier, because he's part of the fucking booking committee. Stop having boys in your booking committees. How about that? That's the only time I'm going to be talking about booking in this segment here. I always try to mix in some stuff I like in between so it's not all negative. Anytime Penelope Ford is on my screen, it's a great thing. It's a great day for myself. It's a great day for Sanity. I love watching her in the ring. She's a good wrestler. Oh, man. You want to talk about waterfall. She was next level this week with her. Man. Kip Sabian is the luckiest man on God's green earth. Okay, again, let's talk about Miro and Kip Sabian. They have this brawl backstage. Did he really give a shit? Is this a match you want to see? Let's talk about the other stuff that happened in the show. Orange Cassidy beats Pentagon Jr. in a match that went nearly 20 minutes. Again, I appreciate the effort that people put into these long wrestling matches, but there's a thing when you have a televised wrestling show, there's something to make sure that you want your audience to leave you more and not dropping your entire load and having matches overstay their welcome. Like, you should never want to feel like you want a match to end on TV as opposed to, oh, I want to see more out of it. Like, the bad thing part about it is this. Like, Pentagon has been building steam. He has this guy speaking for him. He has Alexander Hontes doing his, like, verbal talking smack for him, right? And then he loses the fucking pockets. Okay? Like, I don't get it. Tony Khan makes Orange Cassidy out to be like Shawn Michaels with a personality of Sean William Scott. Like, I'm sorry, Orange Cassidy is generic in the ring, and I can give two flying shits about his gimmick. This did absolutely nothing for me. I mentioned, like, I thought the ladies did a good job, so give a shout out to them. What else was on this godforsaken show? Oh, the Young Bucks, the Hot Topic. I don't know what the hell they're wearing Bucks these days. They had a match with the Seidel brothers. I shrugged my shoulders. It was what it was. Nothing too special to write home about. Same thing with the Nightmare Factory and the Nightmare Family and the Factory. That 6-man tag team match was all a ruse to prop out Double J. He comes out, they're brawling on the Nightmare Family Express, and lo and behold, who's in the center of attention trying to separate both men? It's everybody's favorite referee, Aubrey Edwards. Good God. Finally, we have Darby Allin against Preston Vance in the main event. I like Darby Allin. He's one of the few people I do like in AEW. But tell me why this is a main event on a show that's supposed to hype up a big show the next week. Darby Allin doesn't have a match for the show next week. And all due respect to Preston Vance, this is not a match that you close your television show with. Darby Allin won, doing a Bret Hart style roll up out of a full Nelson from Preston Vance. Here we go again. LOL. After match, we have an afterbirth. We have, let's see who it was. It was Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, who randomly have an issue, I guess, with Darby Allin and Sting. Same thing with Lance Archer. He keeps coming out, and one thing's for certain, you're having a Darby Allin TNT title match in the main event, and Lance Archer is going to be coming out trying to separate some crazy WCW style brawl. Yet people want to tell me only WWE's the show that's only formulaic. Yeah, you keep telling yourself that. All right, I've said what I needed to say. This show absolutely sucked. I want to talk about this really quick as we wrap up the segment. To me, and I'm only speaking for myself, you can agree or disagree, I'd love to get your thoughts. I think it's an indictment that the only generated buzz that comes from AEW is what they're doing outside of it. Again, I'll pose this question for the 500th time. What about AEW is all elite? What is the identity of AEW? Because the only takeaways and observations that I have from this show is something that a blogger on a website would book and present the show the way it is. The show's not good. I think it's an indictment that we're putting over this concept of the Forbidden Door. Don't get me wrong. Of course, I would love to see Jon Moxley and Yuji Nagata. I thought it was a mistake for New Japan that they didn't give the title to Kenta when they had the match on New Japan Strong on their own streaming network. But I guess they wanted Moxley to keep holding the title before this pandemic was over, so that was the decision they went with, right? We're going to have this IWGP US Championship match in a couple weeks with Jon Moxley and Nagata. It'll be fine. Cool. But the whole thing about the buzz of AEW is generated with stuff that has nothing to do with them, though. It's the partnership with Impact. Who's going to show up? It's the partnership with New Japan. Who's going to show up? And it's nothing to do about AEW and the homegrown talent. Every time we want to see the Good Brothers pop out, it takes time away from people like Private Party and the Butcher, the Blade, and other talented tag teams like that. But so, in Tony Khan's vision, just to make everybody happy, we're just going to jam everybody into a random-ass Fatal 4-Way tag team match next week. The concept with AEW is more like it's actually quantity over quality. And that's a problem. Not only that you don't have an identity with your TV show, but also with the fact that the way the show's presented and who's on these cards, it's all over the place. Like Bret Hart mentioned it. Like, you even are having a hard time keeping track of who's fighting with who because there's 20 different factions and run-ins and afterbirth brawls, and it's all over the place. Sorry, guys. No, actually, I'm not sorry. I'm not going to apologize for speaking my mind. Like, I know a lot of you think that AEW is Teflon, and again, I mentioned it earlier in the show. AEW is not for me. But that's okay. If you love the show, you think it's the greatest thing ever, more power to you. I'm not going to begrudge you for that. So, on that note, the fact that the Forbidden Door generates the only buzz from AEW, I think that's an indictment. The Forbidden Door concept, the fact that they need Impact and New Japan to generate buzz out of the show, with the company that's supposed to answer all the wrongs with professional wrestling supposedly for the last 20 years. Whatever, kiss my ass. That's what the hell is wrong with AEW this week. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me this week on this week's edition of the Hoots Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Lopez Media, at Josh Lopez 94, at Josh Lopez Music on Instagram. Also, make sure to subscribe to the podcast right now so it comes to you free of charge every single week on Thursday. Make sure to leave us a 4 or 5 star review. It helps expand the reach of the show, and I'd love to get your feedback positively or negatively on the podcast. And make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. Remember, folks, you are the authentic product that is yourself. And remember, nobody's dictating the pace of your life but yourself. I love you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll be here next week for another edition of the Hoots Podcast. Right now, we're going to send it out to Bert Carter for this week's edition of Thoughts of Dericho. Yes, sir.
And now, the Thoughts of Dericho. Listen well, man. Welcome, one and all, to the segment that will never have any kind of crappy nickname in its existence. It is the Thoughts of Dericho, featuring the one, the only, Brother Carter. I didn't get to see it, but, I saw a clip of it, but great to see Big Cass back. William Moberly, I believe, is the name he's going by now. I've always thought that he had potential to be a great superstar. He just never got a fair shake, you know. Well, that's not true. Things didn't work out for him in WWE. But I'm glad to see him back. I hope he gets to do something in Impact, because I do think that he could be a very special talent going forward. Maybe one day he'll even take the world title off of the most useless world champion in the world of professional wrestling right now. All right, let's start off with SmackDown this week. Very interesting start to the show. Daniel Bryan cut a great promo saying some truth about Cesaro and about how Cesaro is incredibly deserving. But now it looks like Daniel Bryan is going to be going away for a while. We've got the match with Bryan and Reigns on SmackDown this week coming up. Obviously, Roman Reigns will get the win, unless it's by DQ, and then maybe Bryan hangs on to his title. I don't know. But I have to imagine that Daniel Bryan is going to be going away for a while based on reports I've read and all that stuff. So hopefully this will mean Cesaro will get a one-on-one shot at the Universal Championship at WrestleMania Backlash. We shall see. Also, Roman Reigns' new t-shirt is outstanding. Smash 'em, stack 'em, pin 'em. I love it. Who cuts a better promo in WWE than Roman Reigns? I mean, seriously, the most believable champion he's definitely, I mean, you could make an argument really for all of WWE's champions to be the most believable champions in the world. But who cuts a better promo in WWE than Roman Reigns? It was absolutely fantastic. Great tag match to open the show. It even got 3 segments, which I thought was kind of cool. Cesaro is so strong, man. He's just such a strong dude. I just feel bad for Jey Uso, too. He had to be dizzy as hell. He took like 40 Cesaro swings over those 2 segments. I mean, Cesaro's strong for holding him up, but also Jey Uso had to be dizzy as hell. Whew. It's tough life, man. Reginald is hilarious. I love his stuff with Nia Jax. I think it's great. Tamina and Natalya need to be the women's tag team champions. It's time. Get the titles off of Shayna and Nia and let them do their thing. I know Josh thinks that Nia should be in another promotion, but I digress on that one. It's time to get the titles off of them. I think Tamina and Natalya would be a much better fit for the SmackDown Women's Tag Team Champions, and would also give her an opportunity to spend some more time on Raw, which I think could be great too. Just basically give them more TV time. So I'd love to see that, but we'll see what happens. Okay, if Adam Pearce can't snap his fingers and make things happen with Roman Reigns, then why the hell is he there? Like, he's supposed to be the general manager of Raw or the WWE official, and we'll get into that a little bit more on Raw. But I don't understand why he's on SmackDown. If he says, "I'll see what I can do." Like, no, you're the boss of Roman Reigns. Step up, snap your fingers. I mean, I get the storyline that they're saying that Roman Reigns is absolutely untouchable, but it just from a company standpoint, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You're like, snap your fingers, do stuff. Like, you're the boss. Grow some balls. Good match with Apollo Crews and Kevin Owens. I do love that Nigerian nail by Commander Aziz. It reminds me of the Samoan spike of Umaga. Also, Apollo Crews sold the hell out of that stunner. That was great. Speaking of great, Aleister Black is back with a kick-ass promo. I loved it. So glad to see him back. I love Aleister Black. I have for a long time, and I'm really happy to see that we may be seeing more of him. I was afraid of what might happen with him based upon what happened with Selena Vega, but glad to see Aleister Black back. I think that's great. And then finally for SmackDown, I do hope that the Mysterios end up winning the tag team championships. That'd be cool for a father-son duo to do it. That's never happened, so I think that could be really cool, and a great way to end Rey Mysterio's career would be to win the tag team championships with his son. That'd be pretty darn cool. Switching over to Raw. Damn it, let T-Bar and Mace use their real names. I've been saying this for weeks. It's time. They're unmasked. Get rid of the... I can't remember, I guess with Edge, it worked, I suppose. But can you imagine, like, in the main event of WrestleMania, and your new World Heavyweight Champion, T-Bar! Like, right? It just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Let him be Dominic Dijakovic. Let him be Dio Madden. Like, we know who they are. They've been on WWE programming before without their masks. Let them be who they are. They did look good against Strowman and McIntyre, so we'll see what happens with them. They are getting to work with some top talent, so that's great. Miz Morrison, Elias, and Jackson Riker need an album deal. That was a great unplugged performance of Hey Hey Hip Hop. I was getting flashbacks to Bart Simpson throwing a tomato at Principal Skinner's ass, based upon the tomato throwing segment this week. Damian Priest is still amazing. That flip over the ropes was badass. He's become my new favorite superstar on Raw, is Damian Priest. I am all 120 billion% in on Damian Priest. I think he could be world champion very soon. He's He is the total package. He is great. He's my new favorite superstar on Raw, is Damian Priest. I love him. Where the hell are AJ Styles and Omos? We haven't seen them since they won the tag team championships at WrestleMania like 3 weeks ago. I mean, how are you supposed to build up a tag team division if we don't even know where the champs are? And AJ Styles is one of them, like one of the best performers in the company. It makes no sense to me. Okay, when is Sonya Deville going to take over as GM of both shows? She clearly knows what's best for business, bringing the Queen back. I love that Charlotte is back so quickly. Obviously, they knew what was up, and you can't keep Charlotte off TV for long. She's amazing. I wonder if we're going to get an Adam Pearce Sonya Deville feud. I'm still surprised that one of them doesn't run Raw, one of them doesn't run SmackDown. I think Pearce should run Raw, and Sonya Deville should run SmackDown. Maybe she can put the Tribal Chief in his place, but I doubt it. I honestly forgot that Humberto Carrillo was a thing. I always thought he was very talented. I don't know what they're going to do with him and Sheamus, but could be a fun match at WrestleMania Backlash. Riddle continues to be outstanding. I love it. Oh my God, his stuff with Randy Orton and RKBro is great. However, I do find it odd that Randy Orton was like, I have to win the WWE Championship. And then a week later, he's like, well, maybe I'll win the tag team titles with Matt Riddle. Unless he's going to turn on him eventually, which will probably happen. He'll turn on him eventually, and then we'll get a Riddle versus Orton match. Maybe at WrestleMania Backlash. I don't know. But I love Matt Riddle. I think he's absolutely hilarious. Just everything he does is just genius. It's great. That being said, I don't know what's happened with Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. They've been relegated to jobbers. They're now becoming jobbers for the tag team division, and I don't get it. They were so great with the Hurt Business. I just don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. They're so good. I mean, did they piss somebody back off or off backstage? Did they piss Vince off? I don't know. But they've become jobbers now, and it sucks. Corey Graves is right. This is embarrassing. Nia Jax is embarrassing. And not Nia Jax, her actions. It's her having to be in this stupid angle with what we're doing with her, tripping and embarrassing herself. It's stupid. Like, she overcame the bully a few years ago at WrestleMania. Like, this is where she's gone to? Like, now she's just tripping and embarrassing herself, being the bully? I don't get it. This is a stupid angle, and they need to stop it with Nia Jax. Another reason why they need to get the tag titles off of them so Shayna Baszler doesn't get dragged down by her stupidity. Alexa Bliss wins Raw. She's just so good. Just unbelievable. I can't wait to see when she starts wrestling again. It's going to be great. I hope we can end this Charlotte versus the referee feud. Now that the referee got a clean win for Charlotte, I'm hoping we can get rid of that. Also, the women's division on Raw is finally getting better with multiple storylines. So that's good. I'm happy to see that. We're finally starting to see some direction of the women's division on Raw. And it looks like T-Bar and Mace aren't with the Hurt Business. It looks like we're going to get a triple threat match at WrestleMania Backlash with Strowman, McIntyre, and Lashley. It's fine, but there are too many title matches that are triple threat now in WWE. They've got to get rid of this. Like, let's just start having some one-on-one matches. It's proof that WWE that the writers don't know what to do with their talent, or that there's just too much talent on the roster. I don't know, but they've got to stop with these triple threat matches. It takes away from the one-on-one action of the show. Maybe they just need to get a fourth show. I don't know. But they've got to stop with these triple threat matches because it just makes things convoluted. And the titles mean not as much. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what I enjoyed from AEW this week. We had a decent match with Brian Cage and Hangman Adam Page. Brian Cage and Hangman Adam Page. And it was the right call to have Cage get the win since he is the FTW champion. So, great match from them. I guess they got the best part about AEW out of the way at the beginning of the show because it all went downhill from there. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, dropping some truth on the women's division. Give her that title. She is the face of the women's division, or at least should be. She is incredible. She's easily the best part of the women's division of AEW. We need to give her, I'd love to see her against Jade Cargill. I think that could be a really good match. But yeah, give Britt Baker the title. MJF is head and shoulders above everyone else in promos at AEW. He's just absolutely incredible. He's by far the best part about that company. I will say though, everyone else in that Parley segment actually was pretty good. I didn't mind it. The best part about that was that Jake Hager and Wardlow didn't speak. That was great. Because as soon as they opened their mouth, it would have completely had everything gone downhill. But MJF owned Jericho in the promo. And again, everything else, I actually didn't mind that segment. I thought it was fine. And I am intrigued by the Christian Cage and Team Taz feud. I definitely think it could work. And those are the thoughts of Dericho for this week. My final thought is, I got my second dose of the vaccine a couple days ago. It kicked my ass, but I'm feeling better today. Everyone go out, get your vaccine so we can get back to normal and all be around each other and enjoy the wrestling action we all know and love.
This has been the Thoughts of Dericho. You're smarter now, man.